India has won that fascinating cricket match that we have won against the West Indies. We defeated them in under 35 overs. Amitoj Singh now joins us with all the latest. Amitoj, great contest, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they stuck in there towards the end.
Well, one would have expected them to fold up a little faster than they did, particularly when they were about 109 for 7. The 3 wickets in the end, India took longer to get. But this is not just a normal victory. I'll tell you why, and we will reflect that in the points table as and when we can get that up. But what's happened right now, and I can tell you all those in the ICC who are trying to show the points table right now, come up with the numbers, will be struggling because this is a huge victory. What this does potentially is put India in number 2 position of the World Cup, right behind Australia, and we might have just overlapped New Zealand, but just because of the fact that this is a massive victory, and keeping in mind the fact that we've had well, much narrower victories. This is a 125-run victory, and in the context of the Indian batting still not being perfect, a number of loopholes there, whether it be Dhoni's slow batting at the start or Kedar Jadhav not tested in the middle order as he himself has said, or the fact that Vijay Shankar remains the question mark at the number 4 position, or Virat Kohli, who might have scored his 4th World Cup 50 but is still not getting that 100 that he's searching for at a World Cup, and he's somebody who gets hundreds at the drop of a hat. All he's doing right now is picking up the hat of another West Indian player as he did today. So there's a lot that's happening, and I think what we need to focus on is that India is undoubtedly now the favorites to win the World Cup. Before the tournament started, before the World Cup started, it was England. Now it is certainly India, and you might think that England has fallen way down that ladder. Australia is very close to India. This is despite the fact that India has beaten Australia, because Australia just keeps improving the way they've shown against England. So Sanket, there's just a lot happening.
Where does that place us as far as the big semi-finals are concerned?
Yeah, so I want to say this to you because I know this will get you excited. India versus West Indies is over. Now it could be in the semi-final, believe it or not, an India-Pakistan match. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. It's simple. Pakistan's next 2 matches are against weaker opponents. And I say weaker knowing that Bangladesh has been, well, in the best form of their World Cup career, life, whatever you want to call it. They have been the best Bangladesh team we've seen at World Cups. So they are looking good. But England is facing, guess who? India on Sunday, and then New Zealand. Both matches England could lose. And if Pakistan wins both their matches and England loses both their matches, and Pakistan winning both their matches is a higher possibility than England even winning one of the 2 matches, that's the big question mark,
so
which is why I'm saying.
So the point that you were making, I can see the chart. India seems to
India
be now,
has jumped.
India has jumped to the number 2 position.
Yes.
The West Indies have slipped their number 3 from the bottom.
Yes.
And we are only behind Australia. We've played 6 matches, won 5, lost 1. In fact, there was no result in the New Zealand match.
We didn't lose a single match.
We didn't lose a single match, just that by default,
yes,
there was a draw,
yes,
where a points division happened,
yes,
because the match got washed out.
Yes.
In terms of this stacking,
yeah,
where does that place Team India vis-a-vis, okay, the big one, Australia?
Okay, so the good news is that we are unlikely to face Australia in the semi-final, something we definitely want to avoid. But in that context, we could play New Zealand, we could play England, or we could play Pakistan. Pakistan is a team I think Indians would be very happy to play against, despite the fact that that's the kind of pressure that comes with it. Virat Kohli is the man of the match. That's a bit of a surprise. I would have gone with Mohammed Shami perhaps, or even Jasprit Bumrah for taking the big wicket of Carlos Brathwaite, who was the big challenge for India, keeping in mind that he scored his first ODI century in amazing fashion against New Zealand and almost took the match away from New Zealand. But yes, bottom line, India is looking invincible, and this is despite the fact that our batting is still not clicking. Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli are 2 batsmen who are consistently performing. Yes, Hardik Pandya may not have got a 50 today. He got out for about 40, but at the end of the day, he's just somebody you don't really depend on to get the big scores. You depend on him to get the 20 ball 40, which is what he's doing. So he's consistent. But Kedar Jadhav, Vijay Shankar, not doing what is required of them. So there is a case for Rishabh Pant's inclusion.
Okay, Amitoj, I've been meaning to ask you this. What really are our big challenges? See, we were a formidable team, right? We've been winning non-stop. We haven't lost a single match, the exception of one which got washed out. What are our big potential challenges that we'll have to face, that we must realize immediately so that we don't lose going ahead?
All right, that's a very interesting question. Virat Kohli, for example, and I'll start with the captain himself leading from the front. He scored his 4th World Cup 50, but remember what he said after that match against Afghanistan, and this is concern number 1 for India. He said that we're playing too many horizontal shots. We're not playing straight like we should be. He also said that there's poor shot selection. That's exactly what happened today. Virat Kohli himself played a horizontal shot. So he's going to be questioning himself, which is why he was extremely mad at the way he had gotten out. Yes, this was a slow wicket, and in a slow wicket, the ball doesn't come on the bat, so you don't play on the rise like this. You have to go like this. But at the end of the day, that's a shot he himself says to everyone else, don't play it. It's not a safe shot. And anyone in cricket will say that. KL Rahul got out like that. Virat Kohli got out like that. That's concern number 1, the shot selection of the Indian team. Concern number 2 has to be a number 4 position of Vijay Shankar. He's got 3 chances. Many believe that he's a 3-dimensional player. He gives you the possibility of being somebody who can save you 20 runs in the field, because he's perhaps the best fielder in the team after Virat Kohli. And at the same time, he can pitch in when somebody gets injured, like Bhuvneshwar got injured against Pakistan. He came on the first ball. Vijay Shankar took a wicket, became one of 3 people in the history of cricket to take a World Cup first ball wicket. That's concern number 4. Clearly, and I think the third concern, the big concern, has to be Kedar Jadhav, MS Dhoni. What is happening there? It's still not something we can depend on. Sometimes Dhoni comes up, sometimes Kedar Jadhav is promoted, and one of the biggest reflections of how even the Indian team knows that this is a concern is that in all these matches, Dhoni has been coming ahead of Kedar Jadhav. Today, Kedar Jadhav came in front of Dhoni. So that just goes to show what is happening in the Indian team.
How big a concern is the fielding? Because, towards the end, for the 9th wicket, we saw lots of missed catches, dropped balls. How big of a concern is that?
I think...
or is this just one-off?
Yeah, I wouldn't say the concern is fielding. Concern might be catching. And I say catching in the context that, yes, you're 9 wickets down, West Indies is done, you're going to win. Nobody wants to dive to injure themselves in a World Cup. They want to be careful. They will only dive if they really need to dive. And if it's a clear catch chance, they're not going to, throw themselves at a ball which is completely out of reach and make a miracle catch out of it. So I don't think we should read too much into that. This Indian team is arguably the best fielding side India has ever seen. And this is based on the yo-yo test that India has been doing. Although for this World Cup, there wasn't a yo-yo test, which is the fitness test that the Indian team players have to undergo before they qualify for a particular tournament selection. And in this case, because the IPL was around the corner and just literally 4 or 5 days later, they were off to England to play the World Cup. They were the last team to reach England. That is why in the schedule also, they've played the least number of matches, and India has 3 more matches to go, while everyone else has about 2 more matches to go. So fielding, not a concern. If there is a concern, it is the over-dependence on our fast bowlers. What Mohammed Shami has done is that he's taking wickets in he took a hat-trick in the last match at the right time. He took 2 wickets in the front right in this match against West Indies. But Jasprit Bumrah is the one you're depending on to come in and take those breakthrough wickets, and that can be a concern. What if one day they just don't manage to do that?
Yeah, now interesting you spoke about Shami. I'll talk about the other man who broke the internet today. That was the former captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni, right? Yeah. A word about him. I think his score was 56.
Yeah.
Chappan, as the figure is politically, Chappan inch. So, I mean, Dhoni's performance, I saw a lot of comments that complimented Dhoni, that for all those who think that he's down and out, for all those who think that his achievement is a little faded or jaded as opposed to a Kohli, watch his innings today.
Well, I wouldn't really say watch his innings today. You see, what MS Dhoni has done has always been a controversial aspect, and I'll give you a sense of that. Gautam Gambhir, you're familiar with him. He's a BJP MP now. But he's somebody who didn't mince his words. I was in Australia covering the 2015 World Cup, and at that point in time, India had also played a Test series there, an ODI series, and Gautam Gambhir, just a few years, I think 1 or 2 years before that, he had come out in Australia in a press conference and said the following. He said, well, we can't leave it till too late. If I was playing at that point in time, I wouldn't leave it till too late. And although we were not chasing at this point in time and we were batting first, that gives Dhoni the advantage of being able to actually wait till the end, take it till the last 2-3 overs, and then try to go for the big shots, so as to ensure that none of the tail-enders have to come in and face even 5 balls, which is what he's doing. But what is happening is that he is taking that responsibility on himself to stay as an anchorman. And on the other end, you have someone like Hardik Pandya in this match who tried to continue to get the runs that we needed to get, 6 runs per over, 7 runs per over, to make sure that we are going to hit that 250 plus score. And that's why he lost his wicket. Now, if both ends are firing, if Dhoni is also firing and Hardik Pandya also firing, then there's less pressure on Pandya. In the case of Afghanistan, the match against Afghanistan, this is exactly how Virat Kohli got out. When Dhoni came in, he played, would you believe it, he had about 10 to 13 dot balls. And that's when Virat Kohli got out. This time also, same thing. Virat Kohli got out when Dhoni came in. So that is something that, we're going to have to wait and see how the Indian team figures that out. And one sign of how they are also worried about this is that they sent Kedar Jadhav ahead of Dhoni this time.
All right.